Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my biz little shop. On today's episode of What's on My Workbench, I'm going to be making a wallet. I started to make a wallet earlier, and this is it here, and I ran into some challenges. So I'm going to get over here on the workbench. We're going to take this wallet apart, figure out where I went wrong, and we're going to remake it and make it the right way. I appreciate you taking time to be within the shop today. Okay, it's probably a little bit hard to see in this light, but this is a tool design on this black leather wallet. And what I ended up with was all this wrinkling in here, and I know what caused it, and I had not intended to make the liner this way. But when I created the liner, I already had made the outside pocket. So I've learned my lesson there. I'm going to start on the liner part first, and then I'll know the size I need to make the cover. We'll lay out and do that. So the first thing I want to do is we're just going to cut some threads and pull this apart here. There's nothing here I'm going to keep. Oh, I said threads, cutting the leather. And I'm mainly taking it apart here so that I don't feel bad throwing it in the trash. But I want to measure where I went wrong here. So I know I needed to make the interior smaller than the outside so that it doesn't bunch up here. But what I needed to do, and I intended to do, that was to make these pockets on each side and not connected in the middle, so that here in the middle, this leather would just be one piece folding back on itself and I wouldn't get that pooch. So I have had projects that I made mistakes on, and sometimes I hang them on the wall for a while just to kind of remind me of where not to make a mistake down the road. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to have an area here that I think is about 1/2 of an inch wide that doesn't have these pockets on there. So let's start off with some measurements here. This interior assembly was 7 7/8 of an inch wide. 7 7/8. Now, I think in looking at that, I want to have a 1/2 inch gap between these two layers. And that's not between the stitches, that's between the layers. That would give me that area here to bend. So if I do that, what I need for this pocket, and let me check myself here. In effect, what I'm going to end up with is an assembly that is going to be basically like that on each side with regular straight leather in between. Let me straighten this up a little bit here. Okay. These wild hairs are bugging me. So, if I have 2 of those and it's 4 3/16, so I'm just going to say 4 1/4. So I have 4 1/4 times 2 1/2 an inch in the middle. So 4 1/4, 8 1/2, 9 inches. So I need to be 9 inches. That will be for the center piece. Then this piece here needs to be bigger than it. And I think I had that relation to these panels about right. And on it was here. And we're 5/8 of an inch. Yeah, 5/8 of an inch wider. I'm gonna say I can always take some off. So I'm gonna say we need to be, is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, just kind of thinking out loud here. So if 9 inch is going to be the size of the interior assembly, I need 9 3/4 inches for the outside portion. Okay. All right. Now we know what we need. Let me get some leather out here. Check my edge here. Make sure I got a straight edge, and I do. So I said I wanted 3.5. Square there. Nine 3/4. Okay. Need to add a little moisture to the leather so that I can transfer my tooling pattern. All right, I'm gonna let that sit a little bit and case so I can transfer the pattern here. And then I'll add a little bit more moisture to it when I'm ready to do the tooling. All right, I'll transfer my pattern here. About where I want to get started. Okay. I'm going to let this sit a little bit and get a little bit more case in it before I tool this. The next thing I'm going to do is work on this inner pocket. So we need the inner pocket part to be 9 inches in overall length. And I didn't like how this top corner was involved in the pocket, so I'm going to make this slightly shorter in height as well. So it was 3.5. We're going to do 3 1/4. I have some 2-ounce goat skin here, and that is 3 1/4 inches. We're going to cut that to length now. And what did I say? I want 9 inches on my overall length. I'm going to round the corners later in the process here. I purchased this 2-ounce leather from Flaw out of El Paso. All right. So this is going to be the base I'm going to build these pockets on. One on each side with space in the middle. To create the pockets, I've cut some straps here that are 2 inches wide, and that's going to make up my pocket assembly. And my pocket assembly is going to be, I know I said 4 1/4, but I know when I get away from that, I get myself in trouble sometimes. So 3 3/4 is the space there. I'm gonna go with 4 1/4. I've already pitched one of these wallets, so let's see if we can keep from doing that again here, at least on this wallet. So we need, what did I say? 4 1/4. So if I put this, if you notice, I measure a 5 1/4 here, but then I drop my straight edge in here. It's easier to cut around than this little square is. There's 4 1/4. So I'm going to need 6 of those. All right, let's lay these on here. Make sure this is looking right. I think that'll work. I'm glad I didn't go any closer than the 1/2 inch here, because it looks like it kind of needs all of that to fold up. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to create what I call T-pockets, and that's to help eliminate some of this thickness here on the edge. And you'll see what I do here just in a moment here. I need to set 2 of these aside. I don't make T-pockets out of, those are the finishers. And these 4 need to have that done. On these 4, I'm going to measure down 3/8 of an inch here. And over 1/4 of an inch to make a cut. And I'm going to do that on each one of these, obviously being careful to make them the same, like this. So I need to do that to these 4. Okay, now that they're like that, I'm going to make, and it's not really a T, kind of an exaggerated T, but I'm going to make the rest of that cut. I'm going to make that on each of these. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to skive. Just take a little bit of this hard edge off. It's only 2-ounce leather. But this overlap here with wear will telegraph through here. And so I'm just going to take away some of that thickness to keep that from being quite so obvious here. Not much. And we're going to work on some assembly here. This top pocket, it'll go like here. This one will overlap here, there, and then this bottom one will go here, like this. So to get started, I'm going to apply some double-sided tape along here. Just to hold things in place while I get it sewn. If I use this, set it over here, I can help eyeball that, get that height right. And then this one will go on here. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this over here and I'm going to sew here. I'll drop this one down, I'll sew here, and then I'll be able to put this on here. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to sew here. I'm not going to sew this other side yet. I'm going to do that when it gets sewn into the wallet. Next, I'm going to sew this part along here in. And I'm going to leave this thread here fairly long. I'll double back. I'll come back in here and do a couple back stitches with this instead of using the machine. This will get tacked in when I come around here. All right, so I've got the inner part finished. Now we're ready to tool this outside part. I had someone say, my tooling's fine if you like someone that jumps around and doesn't stick to one area. And I try to, and sure, I do miss some areas, I had to come back to it. But my goal here is to get everything I can with the largest beveler, and then I work back to a smaller one. So I'll hit everything here that I can get with this larger beveler, and then I'll jump over, like I said, and go to the smaller beveler, and I'll work my way down to that. So yeah, there are times when it definitely looks like I am jumping around. So I guess the person's right, I'm jumping around, but I guess I'm trying to defend why that is the case. And I'll also kind of get what I can reach without turning the leather. So I spend less time turning the leather as well. And I stabilize the back of it with some packing tape so that I minimize the amount of stretch that I get here. So I'm gonna just kind of work my way around here, doing this tooling, and when I get ready to change to a different tool, then I'll come back and we can talk about that, and hopefully keep it from being too long of a tooling video. I realize my tooling's not as good as a lot of people that create videos out there, so this is just about the experience of creating this wallet more than anything else. And I'm a long ways from trying to explain or tell you how to do tooling. Not my style anyway. I'm going to use a lifter on the insides of these curves. It's similar to a beveler, except for it as the name implies, it lifts it some as it's doing it. Defines that a little bit more. I'm going to keep working here with these tools, and when I get ready to do the next step, I'll come back. So I'm just finishing up my bevel now, and I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to use my bar grounder here to create some interest here. Typically, I try to use as large of one as you fit in the space. Your edges may be a little bit off, but if you go back and you clean up the bevel here a little bit, I find that it makes it look a little bit cleaner. And yes, you do end up removing some of this texture detail that you just put in here when you do this, but I think it looks fine. And this wallet cover is going to be black when I'm done. So I'm going to continue doing that, kind of highlighting these. Let me show you what's going to come next. I'm going to use my pear shader on here. And this may not be the way other people use it. This is the way I'm going to use the tool. But I'll just work my way down the center of these leaves here. And that's how I do that. And I'll put a few decorative cuts in. Keep in mind, this is going to be black when I'm done here. So I'm going to finish on here, and we'll come back when I'm ready to dye this. All right, so I went ahead and dip dyed this, and I put a coat of Resin on the back here, which will be the inside, make it easier to put money in and out of there. And now I've laid out my stitch line around here, and I'm working my way around here with my stitching iron. I decided to hand stitch this with the gap or the skip that's in the middle here. I thought it would look better if the stitch continued on, even though it won't go through the inner layer on there. So I opted to hand stitch this. If you've been following along, you know I like to hand stitch anyway. And it won't take very long to hand stitch this project anyway. So I'm going to work my way around here, and then when I get to the stitching part here, I'll come back and show you some of that as well. I'm going to use double-sided tape to hold it in place, and then I am going to use an awl to go through the thin leather, the chrome tan, on the back side of this. Don't have to worry about holes lining up that way as well. Okay, so we've set up here now in the stitching pony. I haven't removed the double-sided tape yet. I'm showing you how I have it all layered up together here first. So this is the bottom. You're looking at this wallet upside down. I've got double-sided tape applied where this inner part is going to be sewn to the outer body. This part here is where I'm going to start. The idea is that if I start here, this will get this tied down nice and tight. When I come around on this part over here and finish up with this liner in here, that will not have a knot there, and I'll finish off with my knot here. So that'll put the knot in an area that's already reinforced with good stitching. And I opted, instead of putting the stitching holes through here and then trying to get all that lined up, I'm going to use my stitching awl here to make the hole through the liner part. That'll get it all lined up. So the first step I need to do is to remove this double-sided tape here. I'm just going to shift this so you can see what I'm doing. Going to remove the protective coating on the double-sided tape. And now I'm ready to layer this up. And the one thing that I've learned through doing small items like this is it really comes down, in my opinion, a lot of it's the edge work. So what I want to do is I want to be able to sand these edges together, but I want it to be, you know, fairly precise as I start. So I'm just going to line it up on here, and we'll do our final sanding to fit. And you'll see these two layers. This one here, it's a little bit long. I left that long on purpose so that when I get it all trimmed, it will be the same, instead of trying to line up 3 layers here and get that all correct. So I'm going to start right here with my first stitch, tying this inner pocket together here. And I'm using a diamond awl, just like my diamond chisels. That keeps that look the same. And as I do this, I keep the diamond awl tip the same as what I had for my stitching holes that I created around the outside. So I'm using my C.S. Osborne awl. It's a diamond-shaped awl, just like the chisel I used for the outside. And yes, my stitching work with an awl, it's slow and probably painful to watch. I won't make you watch it all here, but I get it done. And I wanted to use one length of thread all the way around, and I probably overestimated the length, so I complicated things further with extra thread here. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish stitching here, and when I get around to this part over here, I'll come back and show you how I finish that up, and then I'll show you the completed project here as well. Okay, so I finished stitching all the way around here, and I'm in this single layer here again before we get to the other side. Let me turn it around, maybe it'll be a little easier to see here. And I'll just finish stitching this out here. By starting where I did, to recap, I started here. We've come around this way now. That way, this area here, there's not a knot in the stress area. Now, when I get done, I'll finish it off here with what would be considered a couple of back stitches and melt the ends off. But there's no real stress on these, on that stitch, because where it started, it'll carry that stress there. I think that makes sense. And there's probably other ways to do this, and I could have sewn it on the sewing machine. I actually, the first wallet that I was working on, that I had a video that I released the other day on, I did that on the sewing machine. But I thought, I'm just going to hand stitch this. I didn't want to make an error with the sewing machine and have to build yet another one here. Now we'll go through here. And my experience is I've got a brown liner here and black thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it on the outside, and the melted back portion will be on the outside, because this is black thread, and you'll see, or potentially see, where that ends if I do it on the brown side. But if I do it on the black, then my feeling is you won't notice that. See if I can get this located here on the other side. So that one will come through to there. And I'm just making it easy to line it up here. That one will come through there. Now when I melt these off here, it'll make like a little bit of a mushroomed head, but you won't see it. It's black against black. I think we're looking pretty good. I haven't put the sealer on this yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these corners off. I'll take it over on the sander, do that, and then I'll use my Ron's edger here. We'll get these edges all burnished up nice and pretty, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks at the end there. Okay, so I don't know if you remember the my first one that I made for this order. I've got a little bit more burnish to do on the edges here. I've got my first coat of Resin on there. I think it came out really pretty nice. I'll finish my burnish on the edges here. I've got, like I said, this first coat drying there. And here you can see it opens up. Plenty of room. And spots here for cards. So it'll hold 3 on each side. Plenty of room here for cash. Let's turn the camera around here and I'll wrap up here. Well, there you go. I think it turned out pretty nice. Another finished project here. I've got just a little bit more burnish work to do on here, but I wanted to get this video edited and ready to go. There's 6 pockets on the inside. You could probably easily get 2 cards in each one of those pockets, and then room here in the cash pocket. And I sealed the inside of this so that it's easier to get the money in and out of there. I hope you enjoyed following along today. Please like, share, and subscribe, but more importantly, I hope you have a great day.